All right, I have a question for you. This video is going to be really weird. All right, here's an example of industrial waste, medical waste. I'm sure you've all experienced it. Tons of waste gets produced on a daily basis. Nuclear waste is another one. I want to put a little star in your notes here. And remember that this waste is dealt with differently than anything else. It's so detrimental to the environment and human health or organisms in general that they have their own waste disposal. What do we do with low-level radioactive waste? We put it in drums and bury it. What do we do with high-level? Put it in the pools, put it in the drums after 20 years, and bury it, okay? E-waste. Who recycles their e-waste? You did. We used to do that here at McCarthy too. Recycled ink cartridges, like you mentioned. We recycled computers. We recycled cords, electric power cords. 70% of it ends up in China. I want you to write that down. They still take this, obviously. Well, I don't know about now. I don't know what's going to happen now, but our e-waste ends up in China because China will use it to make new products, which is very smart. Refrigerators, stoves, all of this waste has to go somewhere, right? This is how it's treated. So before waste gets buried, okay? So you see the drums. Before the drums, it's going to go through a series of treatments. Chemical treatment, what do you think is going to be involved there? If I was to ask you to describe me what a chemical treatment could be like, what could it be? Neutralize it. So if we're dealing with acids, we're going to neutralize it with base, right? Do some kind of chemical reaction. It could be even water, right? What about thermal? What's going to be added? Heat. Biological. Like bacteria. You're going to have organisms break down the waste for you. Physical. What do you think of when you think of the word physical? Work. But how do you treat something physically? Remember when you were little, you did chemical and physical change. What's the difference? Shape. So how can we physically treat hazardous waste? We could crush it. What else? Filter it, right? Crush, filter, compact. Then we're going to bury it. And sadly, just like we bury solid waste from your home, this is how we bury hazardous waste. The only difference is the drum. So once hazardous waste is treated and we put it in drums, it's going to go what's called a hazardous waste landfill. So if you look at this picture, if I wasn't even going to go over this today and I gave you this picture and I gave you a sanitary landfill picture on the test, who could tell me a difference if you remember what a sanitary landfill looked like? Or tell me similarities or differences. I'll take anything. What's a similarity from a sanitary landfill to a hazardous waste landfill? I guess I'll pause. Liners, leachate collectors, and the way you top the garbage. The difference is refuse cells are in sanitary landfills and barrels are used in hazardous landfills. So when we don't have a landfill, here's the genius idea we came up with. Let's pump our hazardous waste down to the ground below aquifers. Why do you think they go below the aquifer? So it doesn't end up in our water because, you know, aquifers run off into a large body of water. Do you think this could have detrimental effects? What could bring out all this hazard? An earthquake. What else? What's like a fake earthquake? Fracking, right? Obviously, I doubt we frack anywhere near a hazardous landfill. Actually, I hope we don't. But yeah. So chemicals are into the injection wells. This act, don't read it, but if you see the word Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, what's the first thing that pops into your head if you see that word? Recovering resources. What else? Resource Conservation and Recovery. Sustainability. Regroup this word. This act is the one that they always put on the AP exam because it's the one you always, by the title, are going to pick the wrong thing. Resource conservation and recovery means you're conserving resources from possible contamination, okay? Because if you don't dispose of hazardous waste properly, then the resources that we have on Earth can be contaminated with hazards or chemicals, and then they become unavailable resources, right? So we're conserving them by making sure we dispose of things properly. And of course that ties in with our Safe Water Drinking Act, which so this can come up as RCRA, and this can come up as SDWA. They can use that abbreviation instead of the actual name of the act, and you have to recognize that this is dealing with hazardous waste, and you have to recognize that this is dealing with public drinking water.